This is Good Morning San Diego.
California Governor Gavin Newsom just signed AB 1228 into law, raising the minimum wage for fast food workers to $20 an hour by April of next year. Here to talk more about the new state legislation is Employment Attorney Annie Ellis. Hi, Annie. Good morning.
Good morning, Allie.
So tell me a little bit about this, what this means, and really for all workers here in California.
Well, it's important to look at the historical context, right? So last year around this time, we were talking about last year's version of the bill. It was really aggressive. There was a council with unchecked power that was going to regulate this industry, setting a floor of $22 an hour of minimum wage. And the reaction in the industry was, of course, we are going to have to challenge this in court. And they did. And they were going to challenge it on the ballot initiative next year. But instead, the parties came together and said, we can find a path forward here. And they did. And this new law, it looks a lot like last year's, but it's pared back in a lot of ways. So we still have a council that's going to regulate, but minimum wage is going to start at $20 an hour instead of $22 starting on April 1st, and it will be reevaluated every January 1st for the next at least 5 years.
Yeah, and there was something interesting in here because it did come down to when it came to franchises and franchisees and how that works within the fast food industry.
So last year's version, there was going to be what's called joint liability. So if anyone in the franchisor or franchisee relationship made a mistake, then whoever owned that franchise was going to be responsible. So, if you own 10 franchises and whoever's running, franchise number 1 for you makes a mistake, you're held liable for that. Well, they took that away this year. So everyone's responsible for what they do. And that's a big change. And that's what the industry was really after, which is why you see in this new law, it's the Fast Food Franchisor Responsibility Act. Instead of last year, it was the Fast Food Act.
Okay, so interesting, because that's got to be one of the biggest changes to the biggest difference in this one, correct?
It is, and I think, the minimum wage is the headliner. It's expensive, and, you've got entry-level workers that are going to be making a substantial amount more than, say, any other industry. But that was what was driving business owners is, wait a second, I don't know what's going on over here, and you're telling me I'm responsible for it?
Okay, and so at the end of the day, I said to you, I worry about small businesses, how this affects other industries, as well as the consumer themselves. I mean, I would imagine that's where the price, it always ends up coming back to the consumer, correct?
Always. I mean, the business owners are not going to absorb the $2 an hour more, $3 an hour, depending on where you are. So here in San Diego, it's going to be $16.85 an hour starting January 1st. So just by comparison, these folks are going to be making over $3 more. That's about $8,000 a year more per full-time employee plus payroll taxes. That is going to hit the business owner. So your In-N-Out burger is probably going to cost you about $1.50 more every time you go next year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. But as far as employees are concerned, how is this a good thing for them?
Well, of course, they're looking at, the bottom line. I'm going to be making more. But here's the thing. It's going to put rate pressure. So if entry-level folks are making $20 an hour, then the folks that are already making 18, 19, 20 are going to say, wait, I should be making 23, 24. So it's going to have a trickle-down effect. It's not just the minimum wage entry-level position that we need to be looking at.
Well, and like I said, so how is this going to affect those who own a business here in California?
It's going to be more expensive bottom line. And I think they're going to have to make up that cost by passing it off to the consumer, unfortunately.
All right. Well, Annie Ellis, thank you for your insight on this topic. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Allie.